We have breaking news. This is Damian Diablo reporting for Channel 10 News. We have breaking news. Donald Trump's campaign team is now reporting a third possible assassination attempt. One that may or may not happen. As a result of his team and their magic 8-ball prediction, they have held a funeral for the 45th president at the still-living former TV personality's compound in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. The eulogy is about to read by Mr. Trump himself, but first a few words from the American people. Oh, I've just been notified that Ms. Jane Doe American has just stepped up to the podium. We now cut live to Mar-a-Lago.
Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today to pay our last respects, or perhaps our final sigh of relief, to Donald John Trump, the 45th President of the United States, a man who once graced us with the sheer audacity of his existence and the deafening of his constant lies. His presidency will be recorded in the annals of history, a presidency marked by a series of actions that were as ugly and weird, he liked that word weird, as they were impactful. From his dismissal of Russian interference in the election to his appointment of family members to top administration roles, his tenure was anything but conventional, or for that matter effective. What can we say about a man who broke so many records? Well, mostly records for impeachments, felony charges, and lies per minute. However, it's not like his presidency was only marred by numerous legal challenges. No, he would have called that fake news. But then, he wasn't really all too familiar with the truth. Trump faced 34 felony convictions, charges of fraud, election subversion, and obstruction. He was fined over $500 million for defaming Jean Carroll and committing financial fraud in his business. Despite these challenges, he remained steadfast in his beliefs and actions. Once a crook, always a crook. After all, why uphold the law when you can simply rewrite it to suit your cronies? In true Trump fashion, he made sure to reserve those coveted presidential pardons for the most deserving, by which I mean the ones who were just as morally bankrupt as himself. There's George Papadopoulos, who lied to the FBI. Sure, why not? Duncan Hunter, guilty of campaign finance violations? Absolutely. A perfect fit for the Trump Hall of Fame. And Chris Collins, also caught lying to the FBI? Naturally, just the kind of honest leadership Trump surrounded himself with. Because in Trump's America, it's not about justice, it's about loyalty. To him, of course. What a legacy of integrity to leave to America. Donald Trump, a self-proclaimed man of destiny, graced us with his presence in the White House, bringing with him not just his family, but also the fine aroma of nepotism. After all, why rely on experienced professionals when you can appoint your daughter and son-in-law to advise the most powerful country in the world? The sweet smell of mediocrity rising to the top. And who could forget his historic achievement of getting impeached not once, but twice? It's not every day a president gets accused of pressuring foreign leaders to dig up dirt on their political rivals, while simultaneously withholding aid, of course, to other countries. Classy move, Mr. Trump. Truly the stuff of legend. But rest assured, he was acquitted by his loyal Senate majority. Nothing screams innocence like skating/by on a technicality. By loyalists just as shady as he is. Donald Trump was a man who believed in making his own destiny. He saw himself as the chosen one. He even told people he believed himself to be a great man of history. His confidence and conviction were unwavering, even in the face of adversity. He once said, "It is much easier to act presidential than what we are doing here tonight, believe me." Problem is Mr. Trump couldn't act. And how could we ever forget Trump's lifelong love affair with the military, by which I mean his desperate attempts to avoid it? While brave Americans were shipped off to fight in Vietnam, our fearless leader was busy dodging the draft with his infamous bone spurs. Yes, nothing says patriotism like using a doctor's note to weasel out of service, while still having the audacity to brag about how much he loves the military. Of course, this was the same man who thought a stint in military school was equivalent to combat experience. What a warrior. And let's be honest, was Trump ever smart enough to navigate even that without Daddy's help? It's a miracle he graduated at all, considering his grasp on history and world events seemed about as sharp as a butter knife. Maybe Daddy did pay off his grades after all. But hey, Who needs brains or bravery when you've got inherited millions and the gall to insult real heroes by calling them suckers and losers? Truly, a beacon of cowardice disguised as confidence. Donald Trump really has a proud family pedigree. His father, Fred Trump, was not a Nazi as some might have you believe. However, Fred did attend that Ku Klux Klan rally in 1927 in which he arrested at for attending the event. No, not a Nazi by party, but the New York real estate developer and his business practices have been criticized for alleged racial discrimination, such as refusing to rent to black tenants, which led to a lawsuit by the U.S. Department of Justice in the 1970s. We are the company we keep. I believe that's how the saying goes. Trump's ex-wife Ivana Trump was once quoted saying that Donald kept a book of Hitler's speeches titled My New Order. We know it. I don't think Florida has banned it yet. It was intended as a sort of sequel to Mein Kampf in his bedside cabinet. Donald never denied owning the book. In fact, claimed he received it as a gift from a friend. I suppose it equates to the diary of Anne Frank and Tom Sawyer. Forgive me, these last two are banned in Florida. Let's not overlook his other shining moments, like approving an oil pipeline through native land. Why worry about the environment or indigenous rights when you can pump some of Canada's most dangerous oil products across sacred territories? After all, nothing says leadership like pouring oil on troubled waters, or in this case, through them. In Charlottesville, Trump reminded us of his unparalleled ability to straddle the moral high ground. Neo-Nazis? White supremacists? Very fine people on both sides, he proclaimed, bringing unity through his keen understanding of equivalence between hate groups and their protesters. We shall forever marvel at his nuance. And let's not forget his groundbreaking work on taxes. Well, avoiding taxes, that is. Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, graciously let us in on the secret. Trump simply doesn't report all his income. Truly a financial wizard, Trump understood what most of us never could. If you don't want to pay taxes, just pretend the money doesn't exist. Who could have guessed it was that simple? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class gets fucked. Of course, Trump was never one to let facts get in the way of his reality. When photographic evidence contradicted his claim that his inauguration crowd was the largest ever, did he back down? Hell no. Of course not. As for his unique approach to law enforcement, who could forget when he advised police officers to rough up suspects? Nothing says justice quite like encouraging violence from the people who are supposed to protect and serve. But Trump, then again, never was one for subtlety. And one of his efforts to undermine democracy itself. In his desperate attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election, in which he lost. Again, let me repeat that, he lost. He heroically launched a voter fraud hotline, which was promptly flooded by prank calls. It was perhaps the most laughter he'd ever inspired, though not for the reasons he might have hoped. In fact, in his final act of leadership, Trump incited a violent mob to storm the Capitol building in a last-ditch effort to stop the certification of his defeat. It was like he thought he was General George Patton finest at the Battle of the Bulge. A pivotal moment in his presidential career, I must say. 5 people died from his insurrection, democracy teetered, and Trump, well, he quickly tried to distance himself from it all. And, of course, he stepped up to the plate and took responsibility for his actions. Please settle down, that was only a joke. What a leader. Truly the poster child for Nazis, Russia, and his MAGA cult of pajama-wearing morons. So, as we gather here today, let us remember Donald J. Trump, not for his tireless dedication to self-interest, his endless lies, or his breathtaking lack of empathy, which goes without saying, but for the entertainment he provided. After all, it's not every day that a man can bring such chaos to the highest office in the land and leave us all wondering, how did we survive it? As we remember Donald Trump, let us not forget the complexities of his life and presidency, most of which he created himself through narcissism, self-importance, and lying. And what can I say out his ear? Nothing. Really nothing that a Kotex pad can't cover up. So, as I end this eulogy to a man as honest as his orange tan lasts, let us remember him as a man who, because of his flaws, and he had many, made an indelible mark on the world. One I hope is never repeated. May he rest, Well, perhaps not in peace, but certainly somewhere fitting.
Well, I believe that was one of the most truthful comments about Donald Trump that has ever come out of Mar-a-Lago. We'll return to our regularly scheduled TV, bathrooms of the rich and famous. The network has decided to cover Donald Trump giving his own eulogy about himself as, well, really who cares?